interesting. I can now have a pinned chat. It's an interesting time and space that they choose to notify you about that. Yes, thank you. My guides just told me that. So that's how it's going to work. When the timing is divine, when you're ready, when you're there, the messages that you need will pop up when you least expect them to, in the best ways, and make sure that you cannot miss a message. Because what popped in my head too is like, why would they put why would they put a message about me beginning to use pin chat right there when I'm supposed to start a video? Like, that seems really improper. However, it also makes sure that I see it, right? There's no way I could miss that. Like, it could have come up in my notifications on YouTube. I ignore those all the time. Like, they could send it to my email. I do kind of glance at them because I am actively working on my channels and stuff, but like, I could miss that too. Like, YouTube made sure it's right there. It's in your face, like literally in your face. But it feels like that's part of the message. It's like, when the time is right, the messages will be so in your face that you cannot miss them, right? In any case, welcome. This is going to be a message from and or about the person on your mind, the person you're thinking about, the person that, whether it's somebody that you're thinking about all the time, or it's somebody that you're just thinking about lately or right now, or it's somebody who you used to think about a lot and then now you're thinking about them again and realizing how much you didn't think about them. Like, there's so many different interesting things. This is kind of a new reading format for me, so we're gonna go on this adventure together. you know um, but yes, so, and if it doesn't resonate, it might resonate later. So I find it's helpful to come back in and check in messages later if you're like, it feels like something is there, but I'm not, like, it's not fitting my story right now. Like, I feel something that resonates, but it all, like, none of it makes sense together. I've actually found that with some of the readers that I like to check in with here and there, and like, there'll be some messages that they'll give, and I've learned over time that, like, if I have a sense that it is familiar, like something that I've been through but that I haven't been through, at least in my memory, it's usually something that comes up later. And sometimes I'll be like, oh, I remember that message, like, it totally didn't make sense at that time, but it totally does now. And or other ones that, like, I knew ahead of time, like, oh yeah, this hasn't happened yet, but this is going to happen, so this is still a message for me, and it gets me information in advance that when that happens, I know what the likely outcomes are going to be, or things like that, right? And I've also had that, like, actually in some of my in-person readings, my real life readings. I've done some events and stuff like that over the years. I've had people come back to me even years later and been like, like, I liked your reading and the format was cool and we talked about a lot of stuff that was helpful, though like nothing that you predicted had happened until bam, this happened, and then that person did that thing, and that was in the reading, and this was over there. So, like, what I'm going to say is, like, there's plenty of times you're going to get readings that don't resonate with you, but that doesn't mean they won't resonate with you later. And it also doesn't mean that there isn't something in the reading for you. Like, even if the reading is not like, okay, this is definitely the person I'm thinking about, and it gives me information, that doesn't mean there isn't other information in there that you can learn, even just by the osmosis of what I'm sharing with you right now. You're learning something. So you could go back to videos that you had a calling to before, but they didn't really fit. And maybe when you re-listen to them, you're like, oh, because that happened way before, or it hasn't happened yet, but that's exactly, where I was when I listened to this reading. There was no relevancy whatsoever, but now I'm seeing some patterns, and I bet you that this is like a prediction of what is coming. And even if it isn't, maybe you listen to it and the reader reads a certain song lyric, or says something, or shares a parable, or does something, maybe even just inspires you for content on your channel or something like that. Or maybe you're, for the first time, like, I want to do YouTube stuff. That's still helpful, right? That's still for you, Anyways, that was not a planned message, though clearly somebody needed to hear it. You're welcome. So this message is about your specific person. And what's interesting is there's a song that goes along with it. And when I was thinking about the messages coming through, and who's this for and what's this reading about, the topics, the messages that came through did not really fit with the song. But I started to see some patterns, and I was like, okay, like, again, I don't need to be Cassandra. I don't need to know everything all at one time. That would drive me nuts. And it's much more fun to live life in a way to where you know that there's going to be many pleasant surprises ahead of you. And like, nothing missing, nothing lacking. Like, even if you have some unpleasant surprises from things you didn't know, sometimes you learn more from that, and it makes life more interesting, more human, right? But the song, it's an oldie but a goodie. It's Mr. Sandman. Say bum 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 bum. Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream, right? Bring me the sweetest that I've ever seen. I probably got the lyrics wrong. Please turn on your magic beams. Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. Now, what's interesting is like when I went to name this live feed, I was like, what do I call it? Like, do I name it towards like a lot of the messages that I was getting in from your specific person, that person that you're thinking about, was that it's kind of a like a you can do anything, but not so much like, yes, it is a boost. It is like you can do anything, get wherever fucking do it. But it's not so much like, it's not that, oh honey, you can do anything you set your mind to. Like, it's not quite that. It's more like the realization of, holy shit, you can like literally do anything. Like you put your mind on it, you want it. And that's from the person you're thinking most about. That's what they're thinking about you. There's more to it, but that's where they're at. There used to be a joke about what you'd call it when you try to light a cigarette and it didn't go out. Though I find I'm a little too politically correct for that kind of joke anymore, but it still pops into my head. For those of you that know, you know. In any case, so there's that, but then there's the song, like Sandman, and I'm like thinking, okay, like dreams and stuff like that. But then what popped into my head is my hand, right? Is Sandman Says, like Simon Says, but Sandman Says. And recently I had a chance to kind of binge watch a show on Netflix called Sandman, and it's about basically the deity that they use as the personification of the Sandman and sleep and dreamland and things like that. And I'm also aware that like the dream time is where we do a fair amount of our spiritual work. Like, when we're in the 3D, we're in this, which some cultures consider to be the actual dream, right? But either way, like, the 3D and the 5D can blend a little more in the dreamland, and more things can happen. It's kind of like meditation space and stuff like that. So it's like, okay, Sandman Says, like Simon Says, all right. So like, this person, maybe in some ways they consider themselves like the Sandman, or it could be that they are in a space of dreaming about you and maybe daydreaming about you as well. So like, the Sandman, or maybe the Sandman is helping you out. You never know. Just say thank you. Say thank you to the benevolent aspects of the Sandman, benevolent aspects of whichever deity or energy that you want to call in. At least that's how I practice it. So it was that. And then I was like, I'm going to pull one card out of my magic hat of cards and see, like, what can I add to this? Like, it already made enough sense. Like, I was going to go with Sandman Says you can do anything. But then I was like, you know what? I want one more thing. It's not even that it needs it. I just want one more thing. And I said I was going to pull a card. And I did. And it's funny because I pulled from a deck that I don't have all the cards anymore. And it's because when I started the Wickedly Divine Feminine tour last year, I started leaving, like, it was a game that a friend and I came up with that was inspired by somebody familially that I adore a lot of the games that she plays and thinks of and invents. And so we invented this one where, like, if I feel called to do so, I leave a card somewhere. It could be a gas station, a library, a little free library I do sometimes. And I started getting, like, just playing with this energy. Like, I sometimes will give one to a fast food worker, when I drive by. And I've been a fast food worker too in the drive-thru, so like that's not a common thing, and it's fun. And most of the time, the people that I've handed them to actually know what tarot and oracle cards are, and are really like, oh my god, I needed this right now, you know. So it's been really fun. And I haven't like I've used the remainder of the deck a little bit here and there, but not very much. And tonight it was like, I'm gonna pull one from that deck, and then I'm gonna make that a card that like I gotta go do some grocery shopping for me and my kiddos. And I'm like, I'm going into Walmart. I'm gonna leave it somewhere in there for somebody to have. You know what I mean? I'm not sure where or how, because I definitely don't want anybody to feel like they're stealing. You know what? One of my favorite things in that situation is leave it in a book, right? Leave it in a book, and then the person who picks up that book, like, and especially because, come on, if you're a reader and you're picking up a book, especially a book that I would put a tarot card in, like it's going to be a fantasy, a sci-fi, a love book or something. Sometimes I like to write my channel name on the card and then do that, like, which is actually, now I think about it, something that I learned way back when my DM and I had a band. We call Me Crazy. And I was learning different promotional techniques for how to like do more than just stick it on a billboard or things like that. And I read something somewhere that was like, you could leave one on a shelf at a grocery store. And I played with that. I took it to another level, right? You know what Spirit's telling me? Like, it's definitely time to put down smoking habit. I'm excited too, because we're getting into housing soon, hopefully. Well, no, it is soon. I just don't know how soon is. But once we're in there, like, this is my final vice left. Like, I've dropped over 100 pounds this year, or well, actually, I would say in the last few years. It'd be great if it was in 1 year. But you know, I really worked on my weight and my body, and things are not perfect, but they're way better. And I eat better, and I exercise better, and I sleep better, and like, even despite all the stuff that we've been through, like homelessness wise, like I'm proud of myself, you know. And of course I got more to work on. Even when I quit smoking, there's still got to be something else to work on, and life is more interesting that way, you know what I mean? Might be time to really work on that hot girl summer bod, maybe, you know. So in any case, the card that I pulled, for those of you that just want me to get it over with so you can know, is the Tree of Life card, the Conception card. I don't know how you can see it because I have the cheap phone. I'm grateful for the quality of video that it has. So I'm happy to read the words to you. So yeah, this is like it's an acorn with an oak tree coming out of it, and a star in the top, and stars all around, and it is the conception moment of the Tree of Life. Which, interestingly enough, I don't have the space in the card to show you, but I have the Tree of Life tattooed on my right shoulder, and so like it's always like feels like a call home thing for me on the Celtic ancestry side, you know? So now we have this Sandman Says, kind of a Simon Says thing, but you put Sandman in there. And then it's like, there wasn't enough character space to do what I wanted to put down, which was something like, Sandman says, if you know you can do anything, plant seeds. Though, I think I either put down, if you know you can do anything, plant seeds, or I put Sandman Says, plant seeds. And it feels like the message, and I'm going to probably pull some more cards to make this an official reading. That was what my original intention was, but we'll see. Let's go with the flow, you know what I mean? So what I got from that is like, okay, we take this song, please, Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream, bring me the sweetest one that I've ever seen, right? And so we've got this energy of like sweet dreams, but also like that somebody wants sweet dreams. They may be having sweet dreams. They've clearly had an experience of dreams that are just wonderful in there, you know, kind of like how a nightmare can envelop you and you really feel it. It's really scary. But on the other side, like when you have lucid dreams that are amazing, right? Like I've had dreams in the past that like I woke up weeping because they were so fucking beautiful. You know what I mean? And sometimes when you have a dream like that and then you wake up in real life and you're like, sucks, you know, or like, this is not, like, this should be, the other one should be my life. Like, you know, and so it feels like a person is kind of in that state, like, and it feels like if you're thinking about this person, they likely have been going through some challenges with like drinking, and I don't know what kind of addiction sort of thing, but something like that. and like kind of going in and out between the realms because of that. And but it's funny because it's one of those, while you might consider that not to be a great thing to do, like in terms of being in and out of the realms and spirit sickness and addiction and all that, it's also because they went that path, because they experienced those things, and because they're in that like jello state of being between many realms and many timelines, enough to where like they actually have to stop and wait for things to kind of coalesce a little bit, take on some form, some firmness. It's because they are there, because they're in that in and out moment, that they're learning about themselves. They're seeing, I want to say reality, but almost more like the fabric of reality, and like how actually permeable it really is and can be, right? It's like they're seeing that space where it's like, okay, yes, this is the reality that I am in this moment, and every second I am in that reality as I go forward. Though if I choose to give this thing, this step in front of me, like I choose what meaning to give that. I can either give it the meaning that I'm grateful to face it, that I'm like, yes, this is another brick to build my castle with, or I can look at it like, damn, another obstacle. Ugh. Like I can use it to stress myself out, and then see that like you're in that reality right now. And as you can start to tell when like the thoughts and the energy that you've been calling, and you can see which path you're on. Have you been taking the one where you're grateful and things are getting better and you're building brick by brick, step by step, or are they going more in a, oh, everything's getting worse kind of way, and there's like it's all bad kind of stuff? Like which path have you been traveling? You can start to see that over time. And then when you get there, especially if you've had an example in your life, and I feel like the person that you're thinking about the most definitely has some kind of examples. You are likely a big example, but like, they have some sort of examples in their lives where they can see that there's somebody that planted seeds, right? There's somebody that said no. There's somebody that was like, I'm not going to do it the way that everybody else wants me to do it. But they're telling me to tell you that like they also know that this person is somebody who did used to do that. Like they did used to do more of what they were told. They did follow the rules. They did do things right. However, it wasn't necessarily right. It's like if you think of a game of Survivor, right? And the different tribes and the ways that they play that game is like you can follow along with the people that you feel like are power players in the social game. You can get yourself in where you think you're in a safe spot. You can vote. You could be on the right side of the votes, as they call it. Like you can do that stuff, but that does not necessarily mean that you are doing the right thing. And it does not necessarily mean that it's going to help you. It doesn't mean that you're going to be able to help anybody else. And like at the end of it all, like if you didn't take any risk and you never had to see how the other side lived and or walk in their shoes, then what did you learn? And especially if the things that everybody said were right to do, like if everybody tells you that it's okay to lie to get this benefit or that benefit, and you go along with it, then you contribute to a system where it's designed to help people is being drained, right? But if everybody's doing it and you don't do it, and you speak up about it and you report it and you do things like that, then all those people get mad and say you're doing the wrong thing. But only you can decide which of those things is right. And a lot of times the truth is, like, if you go along with the crowd, you go along with the court of public opinion just to not rock the boat or not be in a space of like not being in such a risk that you have to use up your safety net and have nothing there, like if you don't do that, then you could end up doing the wrong thing for like many lifetimes. You could fill up the novel of the story of you with doing that. Whereas like if you take the risk and you go to the other side, which is a great song by the way, um, you know, I want to say on one hand, you never know who you might meet on the other side and what like amazing adventures you could have with them. But then what quickly like turn that a little is like actually you can know who will be there. You know in your heart, and I feel like I feel a duality. I feel that you know that about this person that you're that is on your mind, and that they are finally getting to a point where they know that now too. Like, oh, I can take these steps to get better and go to the other side. I can take these risks because I know at least one person who's also going to be there, likely ahead of me, though if not ahead of me or lockstep with me, then not very far behind. Right? It's interesting. They're kind of feeling that feeling. Though the big message that I really feel coming from them, I'm going to pull out my newer deck, is this message about like they're realizing that they can do anything because they've seen that you can do and manifest anything, and it feels like you for this person have been sort of a cheerleader. I'm not saying you've always been like a dainty cheerleader or even that you've been like the preppy type cheerleader. Sometimes you being a cheerleader might be like pulling out your Queen of Swords on them in a way, like telling the truth kind of thing. But you've still been a cheerleader. You've still been a like rather than somebody who is I feel like there's two kinds of Queen of Swords in moments when not necessarily when they're necessary, but when you're going to use them. You have Queen of Swords and you have Queen of Swords reverse. Queen of Swords reverse might be like you're fucking it up, you're getting it all wrong, and I told you, and you need help, and da 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 da. Like that's Queen of Swords reversed, right? Um, Queen of Songs. That sounds like a cool card. Maybe I'll make that one. Um, and then Queen of Swords upright is like, I know you can do this, so get to it. You know what I mean? Like, here are all the reasons that I know you can do this. Stop making excuses. Get up the gumption to function and do it. Like that's that upright Queen of Swords. And it feels like they're saying that like you've been that. You've been the kind Queen of Cups. Like you can do this. You can do it. I know there's a lot of emotion, but let's put on the rose-colored glasses on purpose because we could do this. And you've been there, Queen of Wands, like in a space of like we can do this. Come on, we can rock this. Like and then also at the same time like that competitiveness of the Queen of Swords is like what. If you ain't gonna do it, I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna get up there and gloat, or I'm gonna get up there and be like, ha, ha, I did it, I did it, and you're still over there, but it's always like in this playful, sassy, like she knows that telling, like this person's saying, like that it's with love and it's well intentioned. It's not ever too far kind of thing, and you've also been like I feel like you've not quite as much been the Queen of Pentacles for them, but you have been at the same time. Like this person looks at you and sees like you've had a history with money. You can be good with it. Maybe there's maybe you share economic circumstances like I do. Like there's some sort of thing to where like there's another duality. It's like there's a test. And it's not. I think it's not even their test per se. I think it's your test for yourself. Like it's the Queen of Pentacles test, right? And it's like, so one part of the Queen of Pentacles is very like magical, kind of an oracle, and she's very inquisitive, right? Like, do I like this hat today? How does it make me look? Am I intellectual? Am I, what do you call it? I can't remember what the right word is, a hipster, or is it just a warm look? Am I in the right area for that? And Queen of Pentacles might also, like, look around and go, like, how can I make my life more beautiful? Like, I feel like life should be more beautiful. Like, she's fun and she thinks of stuff like, you know what? I wonder if I would have a different set of emotions during the day if I wear polka dotted socks, and maybe if I experiment with which socks I wear and what colors they are. Let's see how it affects my mood, which is so funny because that's like a thought I've never thought of before, and I might actually try that. I am a Capricorn, and so, like, yeah, but that sort of thing. Like, you have a fair amount of that energy. And I feel like this is one of those where, like, it's a situation where there's something more to do with the foundation of things in a 3D way. And it's not so much like, it doesn't feel like the person you're thinking about, or even anyone around them per se, is in a state of whether or not you can build that foundation and manifest those things. Like, maybe it's housing like us, or maybe it's a better job, maybe it's having an abundance of money, maybe it's organizing court type stuff, maybe it's a parental thing, something like, there's many factors in it to where it's like, I feel like you've got all the other queens and you've got a large chunk of the Queen of Pentacles, but it's like there's just like these certain extra lessons and things in the Queen of Pentacles energy that it's not that you've never had them, or it's not even that you haven't earned them before. Like, it's like right now, the way that the person you're thinking about is what they're thinking about you is like, can she or he manifest something? I want to say something between what you had versus what you want. Can you manifest what you want the way that you want to manifest it? And I want to say, like, there's something that the person that you're thinking about a lot just find you impressive. It's like you've been flexing or something, like, but not just about anything. Like, you've been flexing in the sense of, like, I want to say, on one hand, your ability to magically bring things into existence, but it's also like there's something about your journey and your story and what you've done that it all is very plausible, and all, like, it makes sense. And like, when people look back at the way that you've done things, it makes sense how you got to where you were, and that you earned it, and that you were there. But it also kind of feels like, well, like when you go to sleep and you wake up from a dream and it's an entire day later. You know what I mean? Like, what happened to the day before? And, like, you can't, like, this doesn't happen to me a lot, but there are some times, and I know it's a fairly common phenomenon. It shouldn't happen a lot. If it happens to you a lot, you might want to get your head checked. But on occasion, like, it's normal that can happen. Like, and I know there's memes of people that have joked, like, that nap you take that you wake up and then it's like 5 years later. Like, it's kind of like that. Like, I feel like the person that you're thinking about, it's almost like that they were traveling through some sort of very slow and steady energy that was heavy, and it was hard to pivot or maneuver or get out of the energy. And it's like they simultaneously know, on one hand, that they were there for every step, and that it didn't go by quickly, that they remember the slowness of it, of the experience of it. But then on the other side, they also feel like now, like, just right now, it feels like it all happened so fast. And I feel like you've definitely been, this is the person that you're thinking about, who is clearly thinking about you, that, like, that it's definitely been at least several years since you've known this person and or had some kind of relationship with them. It's up to you to decide who this is in your life. You might have multiple people like this, I don't know. So, like let's say 3, 4, maybe 5 years. Like it feels like there was a time and space in there where it just felt like everything was slow, and they were watching you do things, but it's almost like they weren't too worried, or they weren't too impressed, or they weren't like, no, I want to say they were still impressed then, but it wasn't what it is now. And they were in a state of like, there were so many other things going on that was keeping this consistently heavy, slow, dragging, anchoring energy, that they were more enveloped in what was going on with that they were conscious of what was going on with you, and so they know the story. And it feels like this person does not tell you this a lot, but they are madly in love with you, and have been all along. Though they it seems like they're a person that is like, they don't want to share their vulnerabilities, and for whatever reason there's like kind of this competitive kind of vibe between the two of you, and so like they don't want to give you that win yet. They will. Even they know that they will, and I feel like if you're in this channel listening to this message, you know they will too. It's just, it's not even about when. It's just, it'll happen. like it's like everybody knows it. I feel like this person is saying that even the people around them are like communicating that they know it too. Like, it's strange, but they're not there. They're not in that space. They're like, no, I will not. I'm not gonna admit I was wrong. Like that kind of energy. But they're also like, it's not a bad thing that they're in that energy, because it means that they have more thinking time and space to themselves before things go faster, I guess. And they're in a space to where it's like, so they were keenly aware that they were dealing with this like dark night of soul energy, and like it was dragging and it was hard and it took a lot of their attention, and like they were aware that you were on the side, and I feel like they were even aware that you were up to something. I feel like you're the type of person that can often be up to something. It doesn't feel like you're up to a bad something, but it definitely has that air of like mischief managed sort of thing. So, whether it's like doing something heroic or doing something for fun or doing something for like justice or to make things right or whatever thing, like that there's something that you're up to, but they didn't really know what it was, and you seem to be just kind of doing like more of a normie thing, but not in a normal way, I suppose. Like, I don't know a better way to explain that. It's like you were doing things that everybody else was doing, but you're doing them in your own way, and your own way is a bit eccentric. So it fits that, right? Like maybe you go to work every day, but you wear a bright purple pinstripe blazer, and it just makes you stand out, even though you're doing all of the same pencil pushing things that everybody else is doing. I don't know what it is. Only you can know, right? And it might be something that only they think is weird, or it might be something that only they in their friend group or their community, their family thinks is weird, but the rest of the world is like, shh, that's not that weird, right? Either way, it feels like they were aware of that stuff, but it felt slow, and it didn't feel like you were doing anything like too big or out of the norm that their attention, like, it's almost like you were underplaying yourself, and because of that, they paid more attention to you than they probably would have if you had just jumped out and been whatever this version of you is that at least they think you are. It may or may not be you, but this is what they're thinking, is like they expected you to almost be like a racehorse out of the gate, a thoroughbred out of the gate, or they expected that you would be doing bigger and better things by now, kind of thing. But they also recognized that they paid more attention to what you were doing because you were not the loudest one. You were not the most popular one. You were not the most materialistic one. You were not the one like gunning for their seat. You were not competing with them, or maybe not even everybody else. Like it made you stand out more. And it feels like even though you probably would have gotten a lot more attention, especially at first, if you had done some like whatever it is that they're imagining was a big thing that you would have done. Like if you had done that, you might have gotten some more of their attention in the beginning, but it wouldn't have held. And like they're starting to realize that. And I feel like they're in this space to where like you're kind of this message of like, oh, I get it. like that's what oh, I get it. Like they're recognizing that part of why you've been able to manifest what you want to manifest and do the things that you do is because you think about it. Like you're metacognitive. You think about your thinking, you think ahead, you're thoughtful of other people, even people that you're not very fond of. You're one of those people that really thinks about it. You're like a chess player, like you like strategy. And it feels like they're recognizing that, like, I think that they think that you did it all on purpose. Like, I have this feeling that you probably didn't, that it was like a combination of like intuition, going with your feelings, and just what happened, and you just made the best of what happened. But I feel like the way that they see it is that you totally did it all with intention. Like you would have done some bigger things, in the beginning of whatever that happened, that like you would have gotten a lot of their attention, and it probably would have pulled them towards you, but they would have been pulled in by the other stuff, and it wouldn't have mattered so much. But instead, you kept your cool, you kept collected, you did your own thing, you kind of found yourself within the things that everybody does, but you made your own way about it. Like, she could go her own way. That's not my range, a good range for my voice. But it feels like then now, like it feels like this person sees you as somebody who's been making big moves. And to some degree, it kind of feels Survivor-ish. I know I've been like binge watching that show lately, but it does feel somewhat relevant. Like big moves in terms of like big moves that someone would make in that game. Or like even with a game, a game of chess, like sometimes you make a stupid move just to make a big move. Like you could totally send your, move a pawn and take your queen and move it up to check the king, even though you know that there's like 5 different pieces that could totally take your queen at that point. Like you do it to make a bold move, like just in your face, right? Which is funny because can't make that up. That links back to how YouTube now for us creators is throwing up like, this bit of information. It's not just a tiny bit, it's like a good chunk of information right when we start like a live feed, or we go to like upload a video, and it's like, oh, it's like in your face, like you can't miss it, right? So this person feels like you've done something or are doing something that like, I feel like there's 2 kinds of like in your face. And I feel like this person that you think about is on your mind has got many examples of this. There's more than 2, but the first 2 that pop into my mind is like someone who's in your face because they're doing such big, bold, amazing things that how could they not be there? And or maybe you're linked to them in a way that even if you didn't want to look or know about it, you have to, because of other things, like could be work or family or co-parenting or whatever thing. Like there's some reason that you have to see how well they're doing, kind of thing, and it's like in your face, right? And then second version is like this won't get out of your face, in your face kind of way, like. And then there's like a third version, which is very like, well, kind of like the YouTube videos too, as to where it's like it's not in your face as in like a mean, like in your face, or I'll get in your face until you do what I want kind of thing. Like it's like I'm going to make sure that you see this message, this communication. I'm going to make sure that it is right where you cannot avoid it, that you have to see it. Even if you do end up ignoring it, you still have to see it. You still have to get that information, that data, that sign, that synchronicity. Like it's there, and then it'll go away. Right? So it's not like this, oh my God, this isn't going to stop. And it's not even necessarily stuff that's like, oh, I see it and it so pisses me off or scares me or makes obstacles for me. But sometimes it is too. It's like, oh, I got to stop what I'm doing and look at this, right? But so it's kind of a mixture of in-your-face energies. And you know what? Let's pull some more cards. I'm going to do these Spirit Ally cards. And let's see what else your specific person is thinking about. Then we're going to get off of here pretty soon because I really do got to go do some errands and stuff. Wasn't my intention to be on here this long, but I just enjoy your company so much. All right, so here we go. So let's get like just 1 or 2 cards of like some messages that the person you're thinking about the most wants to send to you, wants you to know about. Oh, there's 1. Sagittarius. Aries, or not Aries. Wow, it's funny that I said that. I was thinking arrows, archery, which I'm kind of getting like a Robin Hood vibe off of. Let's do one more card so we can have a little more clarity on what the message is. At least one more card. We might do a couple. Oh, got one. Ametrine. Interesting. I think I'm going to do one more, and then I like the little describing blurbs that they have for these. So, like, what I might think about Sagittarius is not necessarily what they'd have to say about it. Oh, we got Leo. It came in. I haven't reversed this deck, and I think I'm going to keep them upright. But like, it is good to note it when I looked at it, it was like that. But yeah, so we've got Leo and Sag, which is interesting. Like two fire sign energies with a crystal in the middle. Let's see what the book has to say about these, right? So Sag is 57. Sagittarius, I am answering the call to explore, which, yes, thank you. See, this is why I like doing this. That was one of the other messages from earlier. This person is seeing that you can manifest anything that you want to. And I feel like the other part of that Queen of Pentacles energy that you don't have yet, it's there. It's not there, not because you can't go and get it, but because you want it in certain more specific ways. Like you're open to different ways that it comes in enough for the manifesting of it, though you're specific enough that it's not just going to happen any particular way. And see, that's confirmation with that card. It's going to come in for you, and they see that, and it's impressive. And now they're in a space where, because you've been their cheerleader, whether it's been like on the you can do it or the get your ass in gear, like whatever way that you've been doing it, they needed that. And now they're in a space of having more self-confidence that somebody like you, with all that you can do and all that you can put your time and focus and energy into, that you feel like they can do it. Like, it almost feels like, even when you're like, if you're being kind of a dick about it sometimes, whether you feel you need to or that's just you being you in the moment, like they feel like they need that sometimes, and they appreciate the way that you do it, and it's always still kind of uplifting. Like, even when it's something that they don't want to focus on, that they know that they're fucking up on, they still enjoy it because of the way that you say it, the way that you do it, and that you're not afraid to talk to them like that either. Like, there's something about that the person you think about a lot is just like, they don't hate it, and they're not ready to admit that they sort of like it, but they're like, like, talk to me like that. Lucky you're the only one that could ever get away with that kind of energy. Like, not that they're like a dangerous person, or that they would like they just wouldn't be with or let someone else talk to them the way that you talk to them. There's something about that, both the good and the bad talking. Like, I don't know exactly what it is, but yeah. So in the I am answering the call to explore, they're exploring things now. They're thinking about, like, when there was some sort of plan or dream or goal that they set, like, I want to say something like 3, maybe 4 years ago, that did not happen. And it did not happen because of the slow, draggy energy and anchors that they didn't want. And they kind of felt like they were in a, like, that's what it is. They felt like they were in a dream. They may have even told you that at some point, like offhandedly, but they felt like they were in a bad dream. And it feels like now all the stuff that they were like kind of casually aware that you were doing, because it more had them feeling like, why isn't she? It's like, if you were the type of person that they'd normally say, what are they up to? At this moment, it was like, the lack of having any reason to ask what you were up to is what made them wonder what you were up to, enough that they kept track of things, and they were paying attention to you. And then it's like, suddenly time sped up, and it went from like, it's like if you have a chessboard that's set up but there's no moves, and then suddenly move, checkmate. And it's kind of like that. Like, it feels like they were in the game, playing their side of the game. I don't know if it's with you or with others. Like, there could be multiples, but or maybe it's like, think of the Queen's Gambit almost, like where she plays like multiple, like when she plays all 10 kids in the chess club kind of thing by herself, right? Like, so it's like if they were playing chess, it's like they were playing chess with a few opponents and it was slow and methodical, whereas like they were aware that you were playing chess with way more people and like move, checkmate, move, checkmate, move, checkmate. But they kind of got lulled into this like, she's just playing chess, so I got to worry about, right? It's nothing to worry about, and it's not really that impressive. So like, they were in a very like 3D status space of like, how will the rest of the world view me if I'm with this person or that person kind of space. Like they were thinking about you a lot, and they were like, it was a constant question in their mind about reconnecting with you in whatever way that you guys want to or had already connected in. But like there wasn't anything that they felt that you were doing that was impressive enough that their crowd, their circus, their community of people would be like, yes, it totally makes sense that you would choose her and not these other options. And the other options, like, I want to say some of them were making some big moves, definitely Survivor style. Like it wasn't exactly about like, it wasn't exactly usually about kindness and integrity and things like that, but they were making big moves. And like this person kind of like in their communities and stuff, the big underhanded moves were more appreciated than like big moves of integrity kind of thing and big moves of respect kind of thing. And so like for them it wasn't as easy as it might have been for you or for somebody else, to where if you are a type of person who feels like bigger moves are more about integrity and things like that, you were kind of from two different worlds, two different cultures, so to speak. So like, especially if you've had a lot of readings where this person is on your mind a lot, like they say you're very different and you're from two different cultures. It doesn't have to literally mean different cultures. It can be from different family belief systems, different community cultures, things like that, because there's all sorts of those too. But it feels like it was a harder decision for them, because not only was it about love, it was about that mixture of like, yes, love conquers all, but there are certain societal factors and things that we also have to balance in. If you have children, it's helping them do well in school, making sure you're getting there on time, making sure that they're around good people. If you've got partners, it's pleasing their friends and their people and your family and doing all this stuff, and being able to match that. And like sometimes love is not always enough to be all of those things at one time, but it doesn't mean that like a love that wasn't enough to cover those in the past isn't the same in the future. And this person has known that, and like they've seen you grow. And like it was a weird complication because like they knew that at some point they became aware that you were showing growth, you were showing maturity, you were showing what they wanted to see, right? And showing others like this mature, kind, loving way to go, and things like that. But it wasn't big moves, and what other people were looking at the time were these big like kind of Survivor style moves, right? And it seemed that you were kind of like playing it safe, I want to say, but also not. Like there's something about you that it's never quite playing it safe, but the way that they saw it was that you were playing safe, right? So then everything sped up, and it was suddenly like it went from you were playing chess with a whole different group, and yeah, you're doing that, but you're just doing that. They're trying to play their own chess games with the people around them, and maybe they're not as great at chess, but they're figuring it out. And or maybe it was like 10 and 10, like you both had 10 and 10, just different scenarios of people, but you're both playing your things, and then suddenly bam, you're at the same table, you're playing each other at the chessboard, right? And then it's like it was still slow from the beginning of the chess game of like pawn here, this, there. They're not seeing you make any super big molds. Moves is what I meant to say. Molds is interesting. But you're not making any super big moves, but you do make some significant moves that make them have to defend their pieces and stuff like that. And let's say you also like the game that you guys are playing is best 2 out of 3, and you already have one. So, or maybe it's that you have one and they have one, and now it's the third game. And whichever one of you gets this game gets best 2 out of 3. it sounds like the energy that I'm hearing is like if you get whichever one of you wins or loses, you're gonna do another 2 out of 3. But it feels like they are looking back on things and realizing that the ways that you do things are more honorable, more miraculous, kind of Disney like in some ways, but like because you do things the way you do them with intention is part of why you get reward out of it. And I feel like maybe they saw you as kind of a privileged lady in the past, like maybe people just gave you things. It wasn't that you earned them or that they I don't think they ever saw it as you didn't deserve things, just more so that they went through enough roughness in their life that they felt like even though they wanted the best for you and they didn't want you to have to struggle, that it wasn't earned in the same way as how they got to what they got because they had to struggle to get to what they have. And they still went through struggle. But now it's like because they watched you do what you did along the same right next to them basically, and they watched how you got there, and they watched how you earned it, and they watched how you changed things up, and they watched how you did how you handled your mistakes, how you turned lemons into lemonade to drink while you took the next brick thrown at you and built up your own walkway to your castle kind of thing. Like they watched it and they realized that not only do you at least now have that sort of Queen of Pentacles, King of Pentacles vibe of knowing, I like that. I want to say like the credibility on your resume of having built it yourself, built it your damn self, right? Like they see that, but also they see kind of this almost like Buddha-like story where it's like you had it all and you gave it up, and you gave it up for like love and spirituality and fun and things that other people don't prioritize very often, and like because of that you like not that you've been given like the other stuff, but they definitely see that like other people had to work harder than you to get to what you got, though they're also realizing that that was because those other people got into a victim-y mindset and like kind of made it harder on themselves to get what they needed. Maybe they snap at people a lot. Maybe they're way too emotional. Maybe they're not emotional enough, whatever it was, like they made it harder on themselves. And it feels like the person that you're thinking about a lot is having these kind of epiphanies about how we make things harder on ourselves, right? And that's part of the seeds planted, I suppose. And it feels like that's something that you planted a while ago with them that is kind of now coming to fruition of like it feels like they're saying you could have done anything at all in the world and what you chose to do was plant seeds. I feel like you may have been a gardener in the past, like I feel like you guys have some sort of history where like you could have been out there doing like incredibly amazing things, but instead where they normally found you was in the garden, like tilling the soil and planting the seeds and pulling the buds off the basil and things like that. And they thought that was so silly. Like they thought that was like you could get out there and you do more, you do this grind thing, you do this adulting thing in the way that it has been laid out for us, you follow the manual. You know what I mean? Like they were like, you follow the manual, and you were out there going, no, I'm gonna put some fairies in my garden, I'm gonna plant some carrots, I like this weed over here, I'm gonna let it grow and see what it becomes, like. And they felt like they loved that, though it wasn't going to get them a status that they really wanted, and that they coveted more than that, I suppose. And I feel like this person also thinks of you as somebody who could have, like, it's like they know you could do it, and so it's very frustrating that you haven't done it yet. And it feels like there are other people in your life who might have also felt that way, though they didn't understand the value of like not only what you got out of that time in the garden planting seeds and turning rocks into what do you call them, borders and things like that, but like you got a lot more out of it than anybody did who spent all their time like laboring away and trying to follow the manual, right? And it feels like they see that when you could have been doing anything, You are metaphorically planting seeds with them, with everyone, like all over the place, and seeds of goodness too, not like negative seeds. Like they see that just like as in a physical garden, when you let some weeds grow, sometimes you get a tree or you get a fruit bush or you get something that's really cool. The same thing has kind of happened with these like energetic seeds or you know, like it says what is it, conception, you know, which is kind of like the moment a baby is born kind of thing, or moment a seed is made by a tree, right? Conception. And like they see that you've done it, like that, the you know, you've gotten some trees out of it, you've gotten some fruit bushes, you've gotten some stuff out of it that you really like, and that is really good for not just you but everyone. And they're like, whoa, if they can do that, and they're sitting over here kind of like cheerleadering me and saying like that I can do that. Like they're not stupid. They wouldn't just be saying that to somebody who couldn't do it. And like there's been some things that have happened in their life that they're really in a state of, it's not just about do they want to do that, it's like they kind of need to do that. Like they've gotten themselves into some messes and some things that it's like the thing they were afraid to face the most that would bring them the most happiness and healing and joy and gratitude, was also the thing they were most afraid to face, you know. And but now they're realizing that part of the reason for that is just because the fear was there. It's like the fear of fear itself. And so now they're kind of exploring. That's the Sagittarius card, right? And the I am answering the call to explore. So like that's a literal message to you from them. That's what they're doing. They're answering the call to explore. They're playing with their environment. They're doing the Sagittarius thing, which is like to first look within and then look out around you. You know? So what it also says is Sagittarius can be found exploring the city they recently read about in the newest romantic comedy, feeling the need for adventure and exploration. Sagittarius planned an exciting trip filled with historical tours, museums, and people watching. Aside from escapades, Sagittarius loves to expand their mind and see diversity firsthand. Sagittarius is the call to get out there. Their natural curiosity is reaching out to you, urging you to take the leap and chase after the thrills of life. Now's the time to be spontaneous and let nothing stand in the way. You're brilliant and can figure anything out. Your energy is limitless. You have to embrace the path of your most aligned, highest self. Sagittarius is all about welcoming the unfamiliar and being open to new ways of living. Be open to seeing and feeling everything in life with a renewed perspective, right? And it gives a journal prompt, which is, what am I interested in? And how can I learn about it in a unique way? And you know what's funny? Actually, I just had this, like, as I read that, tingles. I feel like it's a combination. It's like it's not the person you're thinking about, but it's like their guides and your guides want you to know that if you should choose to be an example of this, the person that is on your mind the most is also going to, like, they're not going to copy you, but they will follow the example. Like they are paying attention to not just how you are doing what you're doing, but why you are doing what you're doing, and especially why you say you're doing what you're doing, and if it aligns with how you're doing it, right? And then let's look at Leo, which is 53. It's like fire. I feel like it's not necessarily trial by fire, but like tempered by fire, made stronger by fire. Okay, 53, Leo. I create the life I want to live. And I feel like that's another one. Like when you get out there and you live your best life, and especially when you do it in a loving way, like you don't do it in like, I'm going to show everybody, or fuck that, or like, oh, spirit of I don't get the love I want the bag, like, which is not bad. I'm not saying don't do that, but like it's so much better when you're like in this energy of like, I'm going to create and live my best life, because that provides an awesome example to others who also want to do the same thing, including the person on your mind, right? So, bold, vibrant, and fearless, Leo stands tall and proud in their light. They have worked so hard to get to this moment and knew that they could do it. After all, Leo is their own number one fan. Which is funny because that's a synchronicity for me. Leo is the daring reminder that you can create your own experience in this lifetime. Leo is a leader, giving you permission to lead in your own way. You deserve the life that you've been dreaming of. Mr. Sandman. The universe is rooting for you and believes in you. You just have to believe in yourself. Manifesting the reality you want is creating it. Each day, imagining yourself living your best life. Take note of what you smell, taste, and how you feel at the moment. Picture your surroundings with clear details. Let this manifestation practice work its magic as you experience the life you want to be living by holding the frequency of it in this present moment. Journal prompt. What does my ideal life look like? And it's funny, even in my mind, I'm like, oh, I've done this exercise before. And you know what? That's really great advice. Think about it every day. And as Abraham says, even if it's just for 16 seconds every day, and usually if you can do 16 seconds, you're going to think about it longer than 16 seconds. So challenge yourself with that. What does your best life look like? Like, I've got some ideas in my mind, though I can already tell that because it's not like, bam, I already have it there, that I need to work on that a little bit more, and that's fine with me. And I hope that you do it too, because this is exciting, right? You can manifest your best life, continue to be a fantastic example to whomever it is that you're thinking about most often, because clearly they are paying attention. So like their message to you is that like you planted your seeds, they have grown beautiful things. I have seen it, and I'm dreaming of this connection. I'm seeing you make these big moves. I need more examples of how to manifest what I want in a good way. It kind of feels like that. Like they don't have other examples in their life of how to manifest in a good way. And it's not that spirit can't find other ways to be those examples for them, but the fastest way and the I want to say the most fun way is if you are the example. At least, well, not the example, but one of many examples. Especially because when they line up and they see those other examples and they can see that you're right there in line with them, then what do they think, right? Oh, like that person I'm thinking about a lot, they're like this person, this person, this person, and they're all really successful. They're all really happy. They all really have a lot of fun, and they have great senses of humor, and their lives are going pretty well. All right, so we've got Ametrine 13 related to the death card, which very Scorpio energy. And also remember, it's usually death of the ego. So it's like, ooh, all right, another layer up, right? And it feels like this is definitely in alignment with the rest of the message that's come through. So it says, I am greater than my habits. Yes, that's good to hear, especially because early on the message, if you were here an hour ago, it was like, yeah, they might have been dealing with some issues of unhealthy habits, of addictions, of codependent cycles, of things like that. So this is a reassuring confirmation card. So I am greater than my habits. Not to be confused with amethyst, ametrine is distinguished by its purple and yellow colors. The combination of amethyst and citrine together brings the properties of both wisdom and protection to the forefront. I just had the most amazing thought, and normally I would keep it to myself, but I feel like somebody else will laugh. So, like, I talked in a recent vlog about how my insurance finally was able to cover an optometrist, and I have needed glasses since I was young and wasn't able to get them. And one of the things I was diagnosed with was amblyopia, which means, like, my favorite fun way of saying it is basically my right eye is just for decoration, because my brain does not really know what to do with the stuff with the data that comes into it. And I've been realizing, most especially after having had my eyes dilated and tested, how amazing it is that I am actually reading this basically with just my left eye, but it feels like I'm doing it with both eyes. And like it's not that I'm blind in the other eye. It just doesn't, like, things go blurry and stuff. And I realized two things from that. And something about this is for you that will help you. The first thing is, like, it's funny to think that you can feel like you have two eyes when really it's just one eye, but it looks like it's both eyes. Like it looks and presents and feels like it's both eyes, even if it's just one. And that is like kind of your don't believe everything in the 3D on its own kind of thing. Just because the other half is more of a 5D thing, it does not mean it's not really there, or that it doesn't work, or that it can't get stronger, or that it really is just one. And also in another sort of message of, like, think about, you may be seeing two when it's really just one. Somehow that's an important message for you. You'll have to figure out where. The second thing I was thinking about is that I've always felt that I had dyscalculia, because when I go to work with numbers, they tend to rearrange themselves in a dyslexia sort of fashion. And I'm wondering now if it's actually because of my amblyopia, because that would make sense. And I'm curious to see if I'm better at math when I have glasses. And somehow that message is also relevant for somebody who got this far in the video. So the other half here of this one is, even though we may not think it, we all have some type of habit that we would benefit from removing from our life. Whether it's eating junk food or spending a little too much time on social media, there is a better substitute that we could be turning to. Ametrine is here to support you in this process of overcoming what no longer serves you and finding ways for you to channel your time and energy into more productive and beneficial ways. Pick up a book the next time you reach for your phone, or look for a more natural alternative to your favorite snack. The hardest part is acting on change, but the universe has faith in you and will stand by you this whole way. Right? Journal prompts. What are a few habits that I could improve upon? Right? So what are a few habits that you could improve upon? I feel like this is something that the person you're thinking about, like they are thinking about that is their thing. Though it's also a message for you, both from them and from your guides. And I feel like you probably know some areas that you could work on, just like I know some areas I could work on. Though keep in mind, you probably have an audience, and the thing you're going to feel most grateful for later on in life when you look back and read your story is knowing that you inspired these people because of the intent that you put into what you were doing, because of not necessarily what you manifested, but how and why you manifested it. And if you want my advice, always follow your heart, because that's gonna lead you the best places. All right, y'all, I'm gonna end it here. Thank you for watching, liking, subscribing, laughing, getting bored sometimes. I'll see you in the next video, and until then, be well.